So here's the state of affairs. I didn't show you, but that little piece on top, that curved piece that finishes off the front, there's a ring that goes around the observer's area in there. And I added the nose underneath piece, which I might add some pieces to. I think there's like maybe a bomb sight under there or something that's just drawn on, but we'll see. But now we got to play with this thing. This is the famous Gotha Tunnel, and it's actually kind of ingeniously done. It's got a bunch of folds in it that you can see I've embossed. And those pieces, I assume, have to be glued together. So the triangular pieces or the orthogonal, rhomboid, whatever, those have to go together like that. Then there's a tab, and I assume that tab just kind of hangs down that other side and helps hold it together. I'm not sure if I'm putting this together right because it seems like an odd thing to do, but this is what I did. Your mileage may vary. Take some tweezers and just squeeze this down tight so that it's ready to go. And that's the beginning, and I guess it has to be strong back there because you're going to butt that up into the fuselage. Then the edge, strangely, this is why I wonder if I got my tabs somehow wrong. I don't know. Best I can tell is that I edge glue this to this end, and that gives you to the edge here, and that gives you the shape of the tunnel underneath where the gunner is. So I put this together and just butt glued it. It worked fine, even though the paper is, it's strong, so it's kind of tweaking back. But hold it together a little bit for a few seconds, and it dried just fine, and it's straight. You just gotta make sure there's no twist in it because this has to fit up into that fuselage. But there's the tunnel, and it looks pretty good. Now the hard part is getting it in there. And there's the tunnel. There's where the gunner could shoot downward. There's also a spot he could shoot right down like that. Bam, bam. There's also a place at the bottom, I believe, for actually another gun on the floor. But now, to show you, I did this off screen, but it's super easy. It's just a stabilizer. You can see I put the elevators down, which is nice. But I also put a tiny little piece of thin 1/32 balsa in there to lend strength right along there. Sanded it a little bit. Makes a huge difference. Because again, this is just two pieces of paper, and to me it's too thin. It's underscale in 1/72, in my opinion. Maybe it's not, but now it's tough and straight, and it's going to be fine when I actually put it in. So that was easy. So just to show you, here's the rudder and fin, same kind of deal. I've already cut it out. I've edge glued it, all that, and I cut that little triangular piece of balsa out. I've tested it to see that the piece is small enough that when it goes in, you can still put fold the paper all the way around and get to the edges and everything and glue it down. So you can't make it too big, otherwise you can't put the edges of the paper down, they won't touch. But this works. And this just gives me some strength on my fin. And so I put it in here up against close to where the hinge line is. I'm not moving the rudder anyway. Maybe I could, I suppose. I could make it bend one way, make it a little more interesting. Maybe I will. But glue that down, and then go ahead and glue it to the other side. Now the other side, what I did is just put some glue on the wood, but then just put some glue right around the edges of the paper, so that I'm going to squish these together and make sure just the edges are glued, and then I'll have a little bit of glue on that piece of wood, and that should make it strong and clean and nice. And I've already tested this to make sure that it folds and everything matches up pretty well. This piece and the stabilizer, for that matter, matched up pretty well. I think I cut a little bit off of the elevators on that trailing edge, but once it was done. But this works really well, and you get a nice fin and rudder out of this, no problem. So there you go, squeezing the edges especially, making sure that the piece of wood gets covered. And I think I find out that I'm not quite aligned here in a second, but I pull it up and fix it. There's too much white there, but it's easy to fix. So you just pull it up, add a little glue or not. In this case, I just slide it up a little bit, bam. And now it's aligned. And see, I'm squeezing it pretty hard to make sure that the paper goes down around that balsa wood. The balsa seems to work really nice, though, I have to say. I think it works great. And now a little more pressure, and she's good to go. I think that um, this to me is more scale thickness. I think it looks pretty good. Um, and when I put it on, it'll be fine. Maybe I will, maybe I will kind of cut this and bend it over just slightly. Again, just to make things look a little more animated. Should do it on the ailerons too, probably. Um, just to just to make things look more interesting. But there is a nice little fin ready to go, and fin and rudder. So that's how the stabilizer was done. So I just wanted to show you, since I didn't show you off, I did it off screen. And this will ultimately end up right there on top of the stabilizer, and looking nice. I always like the tail shape on the Gotha. I think it's kind of cool. So looking good. This now is the lower center wing section. On the edge, you can see where the nacelles are going to go. Underneath is parts of some other components, I guess, for landing gear and things maybe. And this is the internal structure. Now, it was really bendy, so I put a piece. It's balsa wood, but I cross grain. The grain's going that way, this way, then it's going this way on the long part. Makes that middle section stronger. It also makes it thicker, because now when I put this over, I actually get an airfoil. That little line, you butt it up against that line, that's where the edge of the nacelle is going to go. On either side. So if I put this in and I have that balsa in there, that should make it strong, and it should be straight, and kind of it makes it much thicker, because you can see that top wing up there. It's paper thin, and it looks kind of dorky. This looks much better. So I'm pretty pleased with how this is coming together. So add a little bit of glue, in this case, to the bottom. Make sure you line it up, and you just pop it in place. Just make sure it's even, lines up where it's supposed to go. It doesn't go to the very front. It goes kind of back a little bit, not right to the leading edge. So that, push it down, and you should be good. Now, once that's glued in place, it's easy to put a little glue on the surface, on the top, and again on the trailing edges. And what I end up with is a nice little bit of a curve. Like I said, much better than the top wing. I'm hoping I can make the bottom wing nice and strong, have it have the correct dihedral, and that will help the top wing go the way it's supposed to. Because the top wing, I did extend the spar, and it's balsa, but I should have put 1/16th, not 1/32nd in there, to make that top skin go over nicely. Anyway, there it is, and I'm just making sure it's glued. It's lining up. And again, what's nice here is I actually have more of an airfoil. I think it just looks better. And it's going to fit underneath the fuselage better, because the fuselage has an airfoil shape underneath it. So it should fit right there over that gray box, or close to it. That's going to be slick. That's going to work just fine with a little fiddling around. Bottom wing will go on no problem. So that's good. That was easy, and that's one more thing done and ready, which is great. Now, there's the top wing just to show you. I didn't show putting it together, but it is, like I said, it has extended balsa through the middle. And it's got a little dihedral, but it's it's wiggly, wiggly, biggly, and it is very, very thin. It it basically just looks like two pieces of paper. I'm just saying it's thin. Two pieces of paper sandwiched together, and you can see there's a white trailing edge, which means I don't have a curve. If I had a curve, I could have got rid of that white trailing edge, so I'm not too pleased with this, but we're going to go with it because I don't have another one to use. So anyway, that's got a nice curve. I like it. So I think I'm going to have to extend those into the bottom wings as well, but I think it might work. Now, let's play with this Gotha Tunnel. The best way to put it in, I think, is to put it on the lower piece. So rather than trying to stick it in like this and line it up, which that's kind of showing you where it's going to go, rather than doing that, actually put it onto that inside of the lower skin. So like that. So glue that in, then offer it up to the bottom of the fuselage. So what I end up doing here is I kind of splayed it out a little bit, played with it a few times to make sure that the edge isn't too skinny, like it'll actually fit the hole pretty well, which surprises me, but it does. and I'm just going to test fitting it. But what I do is start at the tip, at the back tip. We get that part on and let it dry a bit. Then go start playing around with a little bit more of it. And this is where this turbo tacky glue is kind of nice, because you put that on there, that little bit of glue, and we're just trying to get it so that it covers the hole barely. Because you want to end up, when you look underneath, to have a nice clean seam there. So once that gets kind of just tacked in place and making sure it's straight and not worrying too much about the rest of it, you kind of let that dry. Then you start playing around with the rest of it. And you can see that looks okay. Looking from the bottom side, that's actually pretty good. But it's just that back end that's glued in at this point. And all I'm doing is making sure that it's going to look okay. Now leave it alone, dummy. I'm saying leave it alone. Just let it dry. Let it dry. Give it 5 minutes. That's all. You need less than that. Give it 5 minutes. Go to something else. Get a stiff drink or something. Now, put a little glue on the other end where that's supposed to go, and it just butt joins, but I guess it works. And you squeeze this together a little bit, because this is splayed out a little wider than it needs to be, and you just gotta, it's a matter of putting the glue down, squeezing it together, making sure it's lined, and then putting a little pressure from the top, from that piece, and just making sure it gets stuck. Once that happens, I put a little bit of glue on the edges and kind of work my way down very slowly, checking it once in a while to make sure the underside looks good. Again, I want a good seam on the underside, because since that's a major component of this airplane, it should be, you should see it. It should be, it's something that you should be able to look at and go, oh, look, there's this tunnel. So that piece, I think I had a hard time getting it to actually stick down. So I had to put some glue on that piece several times to make it go, because it's thick paper at that point. But see, it's covering nicely. It's not underlapping or overlapping too much. So that's looking pretty good. So now, yeah, that's awesome. That surprised me. I did not think that would happen at all. So, future me, you did a good job. So, I just add a little glue along the edges and kind of neaten it up a little bit. That's just going to form a seal, I hope. I suppose you could use super glue as well, but I was worried about those tabs. I was afraid that those tabs might get glued too much, and then they would never fold back, and then I'd be in deep goose poopies. So there it is, dried pretty well, and now we practice offering it up to the fuselage, which could be pretty dicey depending on how it goes, because at this point, still not sure it's going to actually fit. I like how it looks. Those tabs, by the way, are going to be good to fit in that trailing area, the back end of the fuselage. There's supposed to be tabs up in the front too. I cut them off because of the way I put the, because of the way I added the fuselage, the interior, I think is supposed to be up higher. So, but I cut those off because I'm just going to lay it down flat. Now, there's a little lip up there, right there, and I just sanded that flat with my emery board. But this is nice and dry. There are those tabs. That tab is the one I'm saying. There was a tab. I removed it on either side, and it seemed to work okay. You might actually put it together correctly, and that might not happen to you. So now I test fit this a few times. I decided to put glue on the inside of the lower longeron area of the fuselage rather than on the tabs directly, because I thought it would be messy, because I got to squeeze those tabs together as I slide the tunnel into the fuselage from the underside. So putting the glue on the fuselage seemed to make more sense. So I put the glue on both sides, and then I put some glue on this part, and under here, because this is going to go up underneath the fuselage and touch some of that large white area. Now I take this thing and I squeeze the line up the fuselage. I squeeze those tabs together, and I just slide this puppy in to the tail, and then sort of make sure that those tabs are squeezed, and then I push it down, lining up the opening of that tunnel into the top. And you can see it's overlapping a little bit, kind of funny. But what you have to do is take a blade or something and move this thing around a little bit until till it doesn't overlap. You want it just to be a nice kind of clean hole going down there. And that just takes a little bit of finagling. You'll get it. It's not easy. It's not hard, but it's not easy either. There I realized doorknob that I didn't get that tab in. So, no problem. The fuselage side is very wiggly, so it's easy to pull it up, slide the tab in, squish it in there, and then you can, and your glue's already on there, so it will attach and you'll get your glue on. So that won't be a problem at all. Um, it's kind of hard to get it to, I'm squeezing it. You can see as you squeeze, the whole fuselage moves. So you got to be a little delicate and just bit by bit run along that edge of the tunnel there and squeeze, and you will slowly over time the glue will grab and it will hold together and be okay. But at this point, I'm kind of gobsmacked that it's as good as it is because I thought this was just going to be an absolute nightmare. Um, I play with this for a little while longer. Every time you mess with it a little bit, um, you get it to fit a little bit better, especially up there on the top. But and here I noticed I needed on the edges, I needed to put more glue and squeeze them together more. This happens a lot with paper models where you'll think everything's going great and it turns out, wait, you missed something, and or the glue dried or it didn't quite grab, all kinds of things. And this one in particular, there's 48,000 things you have to do to slide it together and make it come together, which makes it, to me, a rather difficult model, at least to assemble. Um, it certainly doesn't assemble like some of the paper models I've put together. But so far, it's doing much better than I thought it would. There I am, just very gently squeezing it so that the side comes together and makes a nice seam along that bottom tunnel. And here I'm still working on this. I'm still making sure that it's going to go together. I put some more glue and I'm rolling this thing back and forth on the edge, trying to get it so that it sticks and holds its shape under there, and I have a nice hole. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but it's not too dang bad either. Definitely, as I say, good enough for the girls we date. So it's gonna look pretty cool, I think. And this is something that I was dreading to make just because I knew that it was going to be kind of a bear to actually get in and coordinate all the stuff that needs to coordinate. But there it is. There's the underside. You can see it right into the tunnel. And you can see there'll be a gunner, I guess, on his belly. He could sit down there. There's a gun that goes under. Here's how the wing is going to attach ultimately. I'm going to extend those pieces to put the bottom wings on. I'll show you the skins of the wings next, probably, since we didn't show the top wing. And it's going to fit just like that. Looks pretty clean. Stabilizers are going to go on. It just sits on like that, just with glue. There's some struts on there too, but fits on there. Fin and rudder go on the end, and it'll start to look like a real live airplane pretty soon. So that's pretty cool. And the top wing fits about like this. So you're starting to see it come together and start to look more like an aeroplane. But that fuselage, except for some details, is in pretty good shape. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. Because look at that. That stupid tunnel is in there. Never thought I'd ever see the day.